On a spectrum from road to mountain bikes, gravel bikes sit somewhere in the middle. They are fast and efficient on the pavement thanks to their drop bar body positioning, yet comfortable and capable on dirt roads as a result of their wider tyres and more stable frame geometry. In this video, I'll examine the best gravel bikes currently available. I've selected these bikes based on many factors, including outstanding overall design, high attention to detail, well-selected components, and excellent value for performance. I'll be picking these bikes from different subcategories, and I should note that I've made these choices through a bikepacking lens. If you aren't sure what bikepacking is, it's essentially a single or multi-night self-sufficient bike trip with a minimalist setup. The tent, sleeping bag, and cooking pots are all put in bags and strapped to the bike. The cool thing is that my criteria unearths great commuter and recreational bikes too. If you want to cover rougher and more technical terrain, you'll find a better bike in my off-road bike video, which I'll link below as soon as it's available. The 4 criteria I've used to pick the best bikepacking gravel bikes include an upright frame design with stable handling, low climbing gear ratios, clearance for wide tyres, and ample mounts for luggage and fenders. I've used my Bikepacking Bike Buyer's Guide to find the models that best match this criteria. If you haven't seen my guide yet, it teaches you what to look out for in a gravel bike, as well as how to properly compare over 150 different gravel bikes found at the back of the book. The best bit is that my guides are updated yearly for free, so you'll always have the latest copy. A gravel bike needs to be comfortable over long distances and for multiple days in a row. That's why the first thing I look out for on the frame geometry charts is a notably upright riding position. Unfortunately, many gravel frames are inspired by the world of racing, and that means you're forced into lower and more aggressive ride positions. This is great for going fast, but it also compromises your ride comfort. With a taller bar, expect less hand numbness and reduce strain on your neck and back too. Upright gravel bikes also allow you to comfortably use the drop section of the handlebar. This position is the best place to access the brakes, better in headwinds, and a nice change from the hoods. Some might argue that an upright ride position is too slow, but if speed is your aim, make sure to fit some aero bars to your gravel bike. They are undoubtedly the best way to improve your aerodynamics and take the strain off your hands and wrists. When a bikepacking bike is loaded with gear, food, and water, it's heavy. To combat the extra weight, a bike should use lower gear ratios than usual. Adequately low gears allow you to repeatedly ride up hills without overexerting yourself. I use a unit of measurement called gear inches to compare the low climbing gear ratios of different bikes.
This is the wheel diameter multiplied by the front chainring size and divided by the rear cog size.
Don't worry, we never have to convert gear inches into anything. The 2-digit numbers are just nice to work with, and you can calculate them on gearcalculator.com. I'm looking for anything under 25 gear inches for gravel, but ideally it's at the 22 gear inch mark. There are almost no downsides to using gravel bikes with clearance for wide tyres. So I've prioritised bikes that can clear 50mm or 2-inch wide tyres. Wide tyres handle rougher terrain, offer more traction, and are extra forgiving to ride. You might think wide tyres are slow, but interestingly, it's the rubber compound and sidewall design that largely determine how fast they roll. That's why some road bike tyres have the same rolling resistance as mountain bike tyres. If you still prefer narrower tyres, you can fit them to any of these bikes. Most of the bikes here have mounts for all occasions. This is simply to give you every luggage carrying option possible. I've prioritised bikes that can fit fenders, which keep the water, dirt, and grit on the road, rather than on your bike and body. I've made sure to pick bikes that offer great value. This doesn't mean the prices are low across the board, but rather, the more expensive choices I've made will offer something that improves your ride experience. If these bikes are still too expensive for you, I'd recommend using the knowledge from this video and purchasing a similar bike secondhand. Right, it's time to look at the cheapest bike on this list, the Salsa Journeyer. People often think you need to spend thousands on a well-designed gravel bike with a smart component selection. But the Salsa Journeyer proves that's not the case. This budget gravel bike ticks so many boxes. It has a perfectly upright frame geometry for long days, clearance for wide tyres, tubeless compatibility, which is quite uncommon at this price, all the mounts, and reliable and user-serviceable components. It gets better though. You can choose your wheel size. One model has 700C wheels that are faster on the pavement, and another has smaller 27.5-inch wheels that trade some of your speed for better comfort, grip, and control. The Journeyer has a notably low standover height, giving you more confidence if you need to stop quickly. The low top tube also helps get smaller riders onto gravel bikes, who are highly underserved in the bike industry. The only downside to the Journeyer is the climbing gear ratio that's not particularly low. However, this is an easy mod. You can either reduce the front chainring size to 36 teeth or increase the size of the rear cassette up to 46 teeth. If you're after something a bit more refined, it's hard to go past the Canyon Grizzle 7. This aluminium bike comes with a lightweight carbon fork and a carbon seat post that's been tuned to flex 5 to 10 millimeters vertically, providing a silky smooth ride. Canyon offers some of the broadest size ranges of any bike company, so you'll find 8 sizes to suit people of all heights. The Grizzle 7 has been spec'd with the latest 2x12 drivetrain that will work very well over rolling terrain. It has a decent climbing gear ratio, and the brakes are hydraulic, which is a big upgrade over almost anything cheaper. Canyon also includes some nice DT Swiss wheels wrapped in 45mm tubeless tyres. If you're seeking more comfort, make sure to fit some 50mm tyres down the line. If you have a preference for steel bikes, the Fairlight Farron from the UK is my top pick, and you'll quickly realise why. The attention to detail of these frames is unparalleled for the price. For example, the top and down tubes have been ovalized just for Fairlight, providing the equivalent lateral stiffness of a bigger tube but without the added weight. The cable guides are interchangeable depending on your derailleur and brake setup. The rear dropouts are modular, and there are stainless steel washer plates up the back so your rack bolts don't scuff your paint. The Farron is not only available in 5 frame sizes, but each size is offered in a regular or a tall, which is the next best thing to a tailor-made frame. This sizing distinction essentially determines the height of your handlebars in relation to the saddle, and can be useful for riders who have long torsos and short legs, where a regular frame is best, or short torsos and long legs, where a tall frame is best. The Farron will fit 700 by 50mm or 27.5 by 2.35 inch tyres, which is the widest of any bike on this list. It can also be configured around your needs. Choose between 1x and 2x drivetrains and 700C or 27.5 inch wheels. You can also go wild with the myriad of component upgrades. The 9.5kg GT grade Carbon Pro is not only light and capable, but it's incredibly comfortable too. The signature design feature on this bike is the seat stays that extend from the top tube to the rear dropouts without attaching to the seat tube at all. This allows the frame and seat post to flex up to 30mm vertically, absorbing bumps and impacts while you ride along. Our vibration tests show that GT's floating seat stay design can damp more vibration than an ergon leaf spring seat post on fast gravel roads, which is quite a feat. The innovation doesn't stop there. GT employs what's known as a progressive frame geometry. The frame reach is longer than most gravel bikes, which puts the front wheel further in front of the rider, providing more stability at speed and making it harder to pitch over the handlebars. To compensate for the long reach, the stem is shorter, resulting in a more direct steering feel. The grade is light enough to be a decent road bike with narrow slick tyres, but capable enough for bumpy forest roads with grippy 50mm tyres. There are Shimano hydraulic brakes to pull you up on a dime, a 2x drivetrain that's great for rolling hills, and plenty of mounts for bikepacking accessories. The bike has been designed to accommodate a suspension fork too. Unlike many carbon bikes in this category, the gear cables do not route through the headset, which is ideal for adventure riding as it makes for less gear cable friction and easier cable changes. If you want an ultralight gravel bike without breaking the bank, you won't do better than the propane Terrell CF. This bike is shockingly good value when compared to all other bikes at the 8kg or below mark. This carbon gravel bike comes with a SRAM 1x wireless drivetrain, DT Swiss carbon wheels, lots of carbon components, and some fast-rolling Continental Terra Speed tyres. Just because it's light doesn't mean it's less capable. Like the GT, it employs a progressive frame geometry, it has clearance for 50mm tyres, and it's compatible with a suspension fork. In terms of features, the Terrell is thoroughly modern. It has a UDH hanger for SRAM transmission drivetrains, an oversized T47 bottom bracket, frame storage, a direct mount frame pack, and lots of eyelets for luggage and fenders. The cables do route through the headset, but as the derailleur is wireless, shift performance isn't compromised. Thankfully, the cables also run underneath the stem, so you can still change the stem length without needing to reroute the cables. You can configure the Terrell how you like, with a choice of colours, decals, and bar and stem widths. There are lots of part upgrades available too, including a suspension fork.
My front suspension gravel bike pick is the YT Zeptor Core 2.
For gravel riders who split their time between the pavement, smooth dirt roads, and rugged four-wheel drive tracks, a bit of suspension keeps your front tyre patch glued to the ground, and it allows you to carry more speed over bumps. It also removes some of the fatigue from riding over rough terrain.
The Zeptor is designed by mountain bikers, and it shows. It has a progressive frame geometry, a big front rotor for maximum stopping power, a Shimano wide-range drivetrain, and a 40mm travel Suntour suspension fork.
There are even two built-in fenders to minimise the debris on your face and backside, and the direct mount frame pack mounts are a very neat touch. Even with all these features, the bike is under 11 kilograms, has one of the lowest climbing gear ratios here, is cheaper than the GT grade, and comes in a broad range of frame sizes. The BMC ERS LT is a unique full suspension gravel bike with hidden suspension elements in the carbon fork and rear frame triangle. This makes it the most expensive bike on this list. However, when you consider the riding experience on offer, the price is somewhat justified. The suspension fork features 20mm of travel that can both remove unwanted shock and vibration coming up from the road and keep your front tyre planted to the ground. Compared to a gravel bike with a rigid fork, we've tested the ERS front end to reduce vibration by 39% after a big hit, which is huge. At the rear seat stays are two elastomer springs that generate 10mm of vertical travel to save your lower back from harsh impacts. And this is combined with a carbon seat post that provides a further 10mm of travel. In our vibration test, This combination achieved the same level of vibration damping as the best performing suspension seat post, which is seriously impressive. The amazing thing is that the Urs LT is light, stiff, and fast enough to keep up with the more pavement-focused gravel bikes. And it has a super low climbing gear ratio too. It's quite the package. If you've watched some of my videos and decided that a gearbox and belt drivetrain is right for you, here are my picks. The Priority Gemini is a tough, low-maintenance and easy-to-use gravel bike that will conquer the steepest roads. It's built around a weather-sealed 12-speed pinion gearbox that can electronically shift your gears in just 0.2 of a second. The gearbox will change your gears under load, while coasting, and even while stationary at the traffic lights. Compared to derailleurs, gearbox drivetrains are less susceptible to damage, don't require any tuning or adjustment, reduce bicycle maintenance significantly, and are unlikely to ever wear out. The only maintenance is the 6,000-mile oil change. The Gemini comes with a belt drive too, which is cleaner, quieter, and longer lasting than a chain. Through my real-world tests, I've ridden belt drivetrains over 30,000 kilometers before my sprockets have worn out, which is 3 to 4 times longer than I expect from a chain. To round out the Gemini, it features hydraulic brakes, a stable frame geometry, and an unbelievably low climbing gear ratio. It's available with a titanium or aluminium frame and will clear 700 by 50mm tyres. If you'd like to know more, make sure to check out my write-up on cyclingabout.com. If you've watched my videos about Rohloff hubs and decided these ultra-reliable, weather-sealed and surprisingly efficient 14-speed gear systems are for you, you might like the Avahon Grave. Avahon is a company based out of a tiny bicycle shop in the Netherlands. But despite their size, they've come up with a steel bikepacking bike with a tall bar height and 50mm tyre clearance, which is designed around a low-maintenance Rohloff hub and belt drivetrain. This gear hub is lighter than a pinion gearbox, with smaller gear steps and a higher drive efficiency. If you like the fastest possible gearbox bike, a Rohloff hub is undoubtedly the way to go. The only downside is that the lever throw is quite long and the shift speed is quite slow compared to pinion electronic shifters. It's worth noting, Avahon also builds the Grave with flat bars and a regular twist shifter. Speaking of flat bars, the Husky Dogler is a gravel bike that's virtually impossible to find flaws in. It's well priced, under 11 kilos, and has a 20-inch climbing gear ratio, full carbon fork, 12-speed drivetrain, and a bigger than usual front rotor for quick deceleration. The Dogler leans heavily into mountain bike design principles. The long wheelbase and slack head tube angle create a super stable ride, and the steep seat tube angle puts your weight further forward for riding up steep roads. The Dogler comes standard with a tall handlebar with a large grip angle and less reach than a typical flat bar. This results in a relaxed, upright riding position for long, all-day rides. That concludes the best gravel bikes for this year. I hope you can appreciate some of the excellent designs and details that have gone into each of these bikes. This is really just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what's available. In fact, for every subcategory here, there are multiple bikes in my buyer's guides that could have won. I'd recommend checking out the Bikepacking Bike Buyer's Guide if you'd like to see and compare all of the bikes available. I'll see you next time.